I seem to have navigated muting and unmuting my microphone, so I'm having a great morning already. Thanks. I did. Yeah, it's fantastic. We started a Patreon this year due to a number of circumstances, one of which was YouTube was randomly demonetizing and hacking things and doing various things with my channel. So I wanted to get some other avenues of support. But one of those things was a question time stream we do every month. And people ask questions about video games and law. And it's just a wonderful combination of everything that the Hogue Law YouTube channel is. So I'm glad you popped in, and I'm very glad to be here. So thanks for inviting me.
Hogue, I may have to take you to court for that one. That's blasphemy where I come from.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. I know I'm going to be on the Iron Lords talking about Mass Effect. I agreed to a showdown there on Mass Effect 2 and whether it's great or not. We'll see. It's one of those opinions that I have that I know rub a number of people the wrong way. But as I say, reasonable minds can differ, and it would be a very boring place if everybody liked exactly the same stuff.
All right, so I forgot to mute something here. All right, so I forgot to unmute something, and so I need, you know what I need? I need a like a producer or something, because clearly I unmuted something and it's not working, and I don't know why. But now I think it's working. Can everyone hear me now in the live chat? Because they can only hear Hogue. They said BRAP was on mute. We can't. Okay. And I think they can hear you, Mr. Badbit. Can they hear you, Mr. Badbit? Can you say something, Mr. Badbit?
Sorry, I had my mic muted. First off, I love every time I'm about to go live, someone's like, I'm gonna call like lawn care. I need my lawn trimmed right outside of Mr. Badbit's house, and it's annoying me. So hopefully you guys don't hear any lawnmowers going off in the back because I turned RTX on.
Yeah. Well, let me make the introduction again so no one can hear me. Welcome to BRAP. Please smash that like button. We have a great show in store for you guys. We're going to talk about PlayStation firing back at its critics. You know, Sony was being criticized for being quiet. They broke silence since. We talk about GamePass hitting 23 million. And we're going to talk about the Capcom, Sony PlayStation deal with Resident Evil Village. And that's why we have Hogue from Hogue Law on here to discuss that. And give us a little more insight into how common that is in the industry per se. So sorry about the technical difficulty, guys. BRAP, unfortunately, because I'm using OBS Streamlabs, forgot to unmute one of the things I need to unmute. So that's on me. I need a producer because clearly I'm not a good producer per se. But anyhow, we're live. So now everyone can hear us. All right. So Mr. Badbit, I also want to say welcome back to BRAP, sir. It's great to have you on, man. Always great to talk shop, and like I said, man, one of the best intros in the podcast world, man. I love that intro on the trophy room. It's great. It's so professional.
Thank you. I know. I try. Seriously, every time you invite me on, I always have to accept because I love doing these shows with you. So I'm happy you reached out this week. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I have no coffee in my system, so this is going to be a very different Badbit. So I'm excited.
Mr. Babbitt, you need some Bustelo, man.
We're all out.
Honestly, guys, I say we're all out.
Yeah, we're all out of Bustelo. Like that's my go-to, man.
I can't drink that stuff anymore.
Oh my god, that or like there's like these Trader Joe's like Colombian K-cups. They're fantastic. But you know what?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, this isn't the coffee rant. This is the BRAP rant. Let's get to it, man.
Yeah, this is not.
I'm ready to talk law and order. SVU, let's do it.
I said Law and Order SVU, right? All right, so the Capcom Sony deal or Sony Resident Evil deal leaked, at least a contract for it. And when I first saw this, I was kind of like, like is this thing real? I mean, it looked real. And then I was like, I think I DM'd Hogue right away. I was like, Hogue, check this out.
You did. Yeah, you were one of many.
Yeah, right. So, Hogue, how many DMs did you get about that, by the way? Do you remember?
So, I can't remember which night it was. I was doing something else, and I came back to the 20+ message on Twitter, and then, I want to say 15 of the DMs. And I was like, uh-oh. Usually that's, what did I say? What am I being pilloried for on social media today? But it was that this leak came out, and the way it came out that night was like there was one French streamer that was putting like small snippets out, and so I did a tweet that was like, okay, let's take a pause. I have no idea what the veracity of this is, and then a little bit after that, they wound up releasing the full document, and some other DMers had actually gotten it to me early, and a number of folks were asking. And I wound up saying, as Twitter is wont to do, this got misinterpreted a little bit, and I also wound up trying to help people understand what I meant, that the document itself had the framework of a lawyer's touch, that it was dealing with things that you wouldn't necessarily anticipate from a layman's perspective, and it looked structurally like something that was a legal document. But one thing that I couldn't say about it was whether or not it was altered, whether it was changed, whether it was somebody taking a template for something else and doing what they wanted with it. We'll never be able to verify that if Capcom and Sony don't say, yeah, this is what the deal was, and they probably won't. So I was trying to, on Twitter, as difficult as it is, say, yes, this looks like a lawyer's document, but no, we can't verify the specifics here because this could be a document between Sony and some other third party, and you change it out for Capcom and you add a section in on GamePass and you say, ha ha ha. I mean, the internet is the internet, so we can never not take anonymously sourced materials without a grain of salt.
Yeah, and I remember you saying, like, kind of take this with a grain of salt, like early on, as people were tweeting out. And it's interesting, like, Hogue, like a lot of people were like, oh, we got to get Hogue on the case here. Like, and I saw that quite a bit, by the way. Let's wait till we hear.
Like I have an investigative body, but yeah.
Exactly. But I think that speaks to, just the value that you bring to the table in terms of your.
Oh, I appreciate it. No, it's always great to see people saying, I'd like this person's opinion. And, that's very complimentary to me. And I can look at it and say, yeah. And without going into the details too much, there's lines here where I say, that raises this question, and then it's answered in a separate subsection with a cross-reference that's appropriate. I say, oh, that's somebody took a legal hand to that. That isn't justice trollster. And so I can go out there and say, yeah, bare minimum, this is a template that was used for something that didn't just come out of the ether.
Yeah, exactly. And this thing caught fire too. I saw this on Facebook as well, believe it or not.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because I belong to a couple like gaming Facebook like clubs or whatever they call them, or communities. Like one of them is the Xbox community, and of course the reaction for the Xbox community on Facebook was like, "Look at this document." And it's funny, like after you put that video, I'm like, "You guys need to watch Hogue's video." I put that in the Facebook community.
Good. Yeah,
because a lot of them were like running with it, like their imaginations just go wild. It's like, oh my god, like there's something. You like, I love how you said like this isn't anything nefarious per se by Sony, but the imagination of the gaming community was like, oh my god, they're blocking Game Pass, which they kind of are.
It's a 12-month block.
Yeah, but they're gimping. They're purposely gimping. The Xbox version. Capcom has a history of gimping. Xbox and Capcom's evil, and Sony is just scared. That's why they're doing so. All these things that don't make sense, that aren't very logical in thinking per se. We're just like we're running rampant on the the Twitter streets and on and even on Facebook. And again, Hogue, that's why I wanted to have you on, because you put out a great video, really kind of breaking down this document and really giving insight. I learned a lot. Now, I didn't think there was anything. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I am aware that those deals aren't unique in the gaming space. Like
the parity stuff.
Yeah, the parity stuff. I mean, Microsoft. There's a big stink about it like 7 years ago because Microsoft had a parity clause with, I don't know, for the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Phil Spencer talked about it. Phil actually talked about it because the question was brought up to him about the parity clause. He's like, look, I need to make sure that the people on the Xbox console who own that product are getting, the absolute best experience possible. Like protecting, Phil's saying, I'm basically protecting my consumer, my brand, basically, more or less, right?
Yeah, right. Which, from both the Sony side and the Microsoft side, is a bit of a spin. And, what I say is, I don't blame anybody for looking at deal terms like this and saying, oh, man, wish I could get that on Game Pass earlier because I'm a Game Pass subscriber and that would be nice. Or wish I didn't have to wait 14 days for DLC, which is one of the things that Sony bought. And I understand that completely. And I also understand from the kind of the narrow baseline of this particular game, this one game, that you look at it and say, that's quote unquote anti-consumer. That it would be grander if everything were available to everybody at the highest ability that you could have it. And, in a utopic world, that's absolutely correct. Totally agree. Wish everybody could have everything that they wanted and all these platforms could be massive successes and everything else. That being said, on a more aggregate basis, I look at a deal like this and say, Microsoft is bringing it with Game Pass, bringing it with the models that they're using, and Sony kind of fighting them with their tool set and having the two titans fight over mind share and consumer loyalty is overall, in the medium to long term, a great thing. That these two groups are fighting over us. And that while it might have a negative ramification for any one given game on one side or the other, that for the most part, this is the kind of thing that you like to see. You like to see that the entities are interested in continuing to fight the fight. And the other thing I would point out here, and we can talk about the parity clause in a second, but the other thing I would point out, and I pointed out in my video, is we're coming off a generation where you had things go away for a year entirely, where you had Tomb Raider go away for a year, where you had Destiny strikes and like real content go away for a year. And this deal doesn't do that. We're talking primarily in terms of exclusivity about a business model. And Village is going to be available day and date on the Xbox ecosystem. It's just not going to be available through one specific business model for at least 12 months. And that, to my mind, is a better situation than Xbox players can't play Resident Evil Village at all. And so, I think you do have to take these things on kind of
that's a great point.
Spectrum and say, you know what, the 14 days DLC, that's not a big deal. I get to play it on the Xbox if I want it. The fact that it can't come to Game Pass is, if I'm being honest with myself about the business that Sony's running, the $5 million in advertising they're giving away under this contract, again, all of this assuming that the document is real, is something that they can go and defend with things like, hey, people say it's just blocking Game Pass, but it wasn't specifically targeted at Game Pass. It was any other subscription service. And the premise from a business perspective is, we might have to think about doing our own subscription service for real, and not just PlayStation Now's kind of quasi one foot in, one foot out version. And so if we do that, then we're going to need the rights to that game that we're helping pay the budget for on our streaming service or on our subscription service, and not yours. So, I'm a business lawyer, so I'm always going to come at things from a specific perspective, from having seen these transactions and relationships entered into for a long time now. And some people are not going to agree with that, and that's totally fine. But while I think you can say it's anti-consumer, and it is on a micro basis, ultimately it's pretty normal. And as we talk about in the video that I did, basically all publisher contracts have similar parity language.
Yeah. So when you say it's anti-consumer, are you referring to the part where it can't be on Game Pass? Is that the
either way? You could take any aspect of it, right? So they've got the 14 days of DLC exclusivity. Let's take that because that's the easiest to quantify and think about.
Okay.
So you do that, and it's to benefit you as Sony, kind of. We're the place to play, because if you want the DLC on the first day, you get it here. And the consumers in Xbox, also gamers, are essentially just being withheld DLC for 14 days. Does that accomplish much of anything? No. It just kind of hurts the Xbox side of the equation. And I understand somebody saying, what the heck? Why do these exclusives even exist? You're not necessarily protecting your advertising spend. You're not doing any of these kinds of things. It's just a nice little benefit on the Sony side to try to equate their brand with what they think will be a massive success in Village, and I tend to agree with them, and say, when you think of Resident Evil Village, you think of Sony, and we want to have some sticker that we can put on that says, if you want the DLC on the first day, Sony's the place to play it. So yes, it's quote unquote anti-consumer. I keep putting it in quotes because really anything that's contractual could be deemed a anti-consumer provision from a certain perspective. But you do want these companies out there spending resources and making these things happen. And certainly, while it's a little bit more attenuated than just paying for the development costs of something like Resident Evil, taking $5 million off of their marketing spend helps Capcom make this game and more. So, that's all part of the industry.
Yeah, that's a great point about, that they're basically, what Capcom is doing is basically, saving themselves $5 million. But in doing that though, Sony is like, look, we're not going to give you $5 million and we're not going to get anything out of it, right? That's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen in any business case where.
Yeah, and the other thing for clarity, just assuming people haven't, didn't do their homework and watch my 34-minute video before coming here, who can blame them? $5 million is not changing hands here. One of the reasons I think that the contract is rumored and proposed and out there on the internet is more a possibility than some others might think, is because this is not a contract where money has to be wired from one account to another account. This is a payment for marketing services in kind. Capcom gives these kinds of limited exclusivity rights to Sony in exchange for Sony giving them what is deemed to be $5 million in value of PlayStation Network advertising, like the stuff you see through your PlayStation 4 or 5, blog posts, Twitter presence, and things like that. So it's not $5 million that Sony is spending. It's not $5 million that Capcom is getting. However, it is $5 million that Capcom doesn't have to spend on marketing, and it is $5 million in value of some kind that Sony didn't sell to somebody else. And so it is valuable. It's worthwhile as a contract, but it isn't the same kind of thing where you say, oh, this is a massive amount of money changing hands.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, go ahead, Mr. Bebbit.
No, it also makes me wonder, like, this whole agreement when it comes to like $5 million worth of this, that, and the other thing, of how much does Sony value a blog post? How much does Sony value some tweets or a Twitter header? Like, that's the things that I kind of, those were the big questions coming out of my head after all these things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you have two stranger companies that come to some kind of arrangement like this, one of the things you would undoubtedly have as part of that section where you talk about what they're getting is a schedule of what these things are worth. Yep. So we value this at this, we value this at this. We're going to make sure that your banner is up for this many days. This is how the things all work mathematically. And then you'd sign off on that equaling $5 million. The nature of this relationship, and I think people forget this, is that Sony and Capcom have been doing these kinds of deals forever in terms of the video game industry. And so there is certainly a element of shorthand in the document that has been kind of shopped about that is suggestive of the fact that the two parties knows what it means when Sony says you're getting $5 million in value. They've been down this road. They've seen what that is. They're happy with it, and they proceed on. And you see this in contracts and commercial law in general. When two parties have worked together for a long time, they haven't burned each other, there's that element of trust that says, let's just do this one like the last one. And we can use the same language. We know what we get for this. Absolutely. Thanks, Sony. Go right ahead. But from the outside, and this is a part of this story that I think gets lost when we talk about technical parity and how these things read. From the outside, you can bring all of this interpretive stuff to the party and say, well, what does that even mean? And I don't know. And at the contract level, this never leaked out. All that matters from a legal perspective is that the two parties that signed the thing have a meeting of the minds for what it means. What does technical parity mean? What does that parenthetical do? What does the $5 million buy you? And if they understand it, then that's okay. And you can enter into a document like this. It does mean when it gets leaked out to the world, like this one was, again, assuming it's accurate, then you get all this extra interpretation. And to be honest, there aren't any clear answers on any given thing if there's an ambiguity, because we weren't a part of the negotiations, we weren't a part of the communication, and it was really never intended for us to see.
Yeah. I agree with everything you're saying. It really just, I think I said this on Boom Show yesterday, it really just seems like this was the first time for many of folks out there to read a marketing deal. Like,
like, that's a good point.
And and that it may scare a few folks because lawyers speak, Hogue, is scary, which is why I didn't why Business 101 I was just like, you know what, this is enough for me. So I understand people's confusion or whatnot, but like this, maybe Hogue, I don't know, maybe you want to touch on this. Like, I don't feel like this is hurting anybody at the end of the day. Like, this is not going to hurt Resident Evil sales or make Sony look bad. It's just, this is just like the kind of just the art of the deal. Like, everybody makes deals like this. to various degrees. And that's why I loved Jurgens. I did watch a video, Hogue. And it was like, yeah, any little fear that I had or questions really has seemed to be answered of what this deal is. And it's, at the end of the day, it just seems like business. The art of what the video game business truly is. It's less about us talking on mics and more like lawyers hashing things out in Zoom meetings.
Yeah, God, Zoom meetings. Ugh. It's a Saturday. Don't remind me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that's right. I think that one of the things that I really loved about starting Virtual Legality is bringing some more of this kind of thought process out to the world in general. That every single relationship that you see, whether it's a marketing deal, whether it's, whether Spider-Man can be in the MCU, all these various other things are all settled by contracts. They're people with rights and others with obligations, and settling what those are in documents that help coordinate disparate things. And so in this particular instance, you've got a marketing deal, which we all as video gamers know exist. We know when Call of Duty shows up on a given E3 stage and then has the branding of only one console when it's available on both, that somebody somewhere made an agreement with someone for something. We know that intuitively, right? Yep. But it's different to see it on a page. And so I think when you look at this, there's nothing that jumped out at me as overly onerous. I understand people reading the technical parity clause as they did. I think they missed the impact of the parenthetical that says it's limited to material differences in the consoles. But the new thing that I did find interesting was that I hadn't seen one of these with the subscription service prohibition. And I think that's worth noting. The one thing I will say is, while I think people that are big fans of Game Pass or Microsoft or both can say that is an exclusivity that's untoward, and I don't like Sony for it, it does help defend their $5 million. It does help defend the opportunity cost lost, because as we see with something like MLB The Show, a lot of the value proposition of a Sony game, whether it's marketed or made by them, is eliminated when it goes day and date to Game Pass, and that hurts them. There's no question. That defense is justified to anybody that's being honest about what Sony has to do with its marketing spend. And that at the end of the day, the Game Pass prohibition probably isn't the 12 months that you think it is, right? Outside of Outriders, which really should be read as an outlier, in which I think Square probably had a certain softness of its expectations and thought this would be a good test case for what Game Pass day and date could look like for them that they could use as kind of a control for other possibilities. Outside of that particular game, most AAA expensive releases are going to try to go get what I would consider, now that we've got Game Pass out there, the movie theater bucks. The dollars in the door from people that buy the full price tickets before bringing it to Netflix and the other subscription services, right? That most big time developers are going to have the release window that is going to be selling it at $60 or $70, and then maybe talking to the subscription service providers, which I presume Sony will have a competitor at some point in the future. And so I don't think it was ever going to go away at a 12-month level. Could this have extended it a few months? Absolutely. I think if you look at these, Resident Evil Village might have been a Game Pass game for like holiday 2021. It won't be because of this deal. And so you are losing a few months. But I think it's important to kind of frame it correctly when you're even thinking about it, which says it wasn't 12 months, because it's only 12 months for whoever wanted to go day and date. It's some number of months less than that, and it's probably materially insignificant in the long run.
I like someone in the live chat saying it's anti-consumer, period, and then adding a whole bunch of exclamation points to it. And leading into that agreement with Capcom, like I feel like standard practice, and the thing that was brought up, I think the gross relationship would be, and something that rings true to like anti-consumer for me would be a Destiny Sony relationship where you have these big pieces or chunks of the game just held off for over a year until like exactly. And look, PlayStation just did just fine, so much so they kept doing it, and Bungie kept on trading hands with it. And I think when it comes to the Game Pass stuff, we get some wild expectations of what's coming to Game Pass. And for a long while, Hogue, I thought the same of like, you're going to see big AAA companies if it's a single player focused game, probably come day and date just to how we regularly see it on the digital storefronts at your GameStop. And then a few months down the line, you're going to probably see those be rolled out to Game Pass because you want those day one numbers. And yeah, when it comes to something like Outriders, look, I wasn't gonna buy that game, but it came to Game Pass, and that changed everything for me. So
Yeah.
to me, it is Xbox testing out the waters. Not to say they won't do it again. They probably will. It probably worked really well for them. So they're going to keep doing those types of deals. And, you know, we got the rumor of Battlefield is probably next. I feel like any game that wants to make up ground, that wants a chunk in the marketplace, that needs those like a whole bunch of players at launch, probably are going to be going to Game Pass. And the games that are more of a single player experience are going to probably, you know, stay where they are. The other thing too, I like that you mentioned that this is the first time that we've really seen, you know, a somewhat ban on subscription services, is also the changing of the marketplace. You know, seeing a Stadia or Amazon Luna, Game Pass, of course, those things out there have already started to change the temperature in the room for how you do these types of deals, and for Sony as well. So yeah, it's really interesting. I really appreciate your foresight into it, man.
Hey, you know, look, as I said, I understand people getting, you know, upset about it, but in terms of the things that we've seen in the industry, the press release faux pas, the various things that Sony has done. I know people come in and to that particular video and say, you know, is Sony paying you? I got a couple of those comments. Like, guys,
are you serious?
What's funny
Of course.
about that, right, is
Yeah.
at the top of that video, I'm telling Sony not to try to strike me, right? And I have in that video
Yes, I remember
the playlist that I did last year from The Last of Us, where I came hard at Sony for their DMCA takedown notices.
Yep.
And it's like, did you see the playlist at the top? No. I'm not. I talk about what I talk about, and I think these platform holders do a bunch of great things. I think this is going to be a great generation, and I love this fight between the two business models.
Yeah.
And I think they do a lot of dumb things. You know, we're only a couple months removed from Xbox trying to make gold $100 or $120 or whatever the heck they were doing, and they make mistakes. And the good part is that the voices are strong enough and that they're listening and that they reverse those mistakes. Yeah. But no, I love my PlayStation. I love my Xbox. I hope for great games from both platforms. And I don't view this as an apocalyptic type contract because I don't think it is. But that doesn't mean that Sony doesn't screw up a lot of stuff. They sure do.
I mean, look at just a few weeks ago, man. Right? Them just saying, hey, you know what? PS3, Vita, PSP stores, we're closing them. And we don't really give a shit about game preservation. I'm Jim Ryan. Old games are old. And we all got upset about it. We all made our videos about it. Sony actually listened. And that's crazy because it's Sony. And usually they're dumb. So, like, it is something that's interesting. They did listen.
Somebody in financial said, actually, Jim, it's like $6 to keep it up. I was like, fine.
Yeah. Said, all right, well, make it $5. Okay, we'll get rid of PSP.
Oh, seriously, like this isn't going to affect us, and you'll get some good PR out of it. It's like, all right, fine. Yeah. You know, that's the fun part, is you watch these things and you see how the noise can work, and you see how the platforms respond. And yeah, I think Microsoft has come out with a really strong kind of proposition. With their like software improvements. I think their FPS boost is brilliant.
Yeah.
Their backward compatibility stuff is fantastic. And I think that's great. You see these two different companies with their two different kind of abilities. You see PlayStation with their groundswell of first and second party companies making just awesome stuff. I mean, I can't wait for Returnal next week. Yeah. And then you see Microsoft countering with, we're going to make everything we've ever had on our systems available as best we can. And then we're going to also give them HDR, and we're also going to give them FPS boost. We're going to do quick resume. We're going to make the quality of life stuff we can put in there while we wait the 5 years for that billions of dollars that we spent to really come to fruition on our side of the equation. So I think it's fascinating. I think this might be the first generation, in my opinion, where we've really seen three platform holders at basically full power. And it's going to be a great one, I think. Right now, I think a lot of the rumors and conversations and kind of angst overall is coming from the fact that these consoles might have launched early given the pandemic situation. We've had this kind of interregnum period of a number of months where like nothing really has come out for the next gen. And so you start to get a little antsy and you start to have these questions a little bit. It's one of the reasons I think Microsoft has done just such a brilliant job in marketing and keeping momentum. They lost Halo, which they were supposed to have, and they mostly have kept up doing things to keep themselves in the public eye and feeling positive about them. And Sony's still waiting. I think Returnal will be a nice step for them. And they're still figuring things out because Game Pass is coming stronger. One of the things I've said, I think in another podcast, was it's been 20 years since Microsoft joined the fight. And I think we have always been wondering whether or not Microsoft would ever open up the wallet and go full bore. And the last couple of years have shown that Microsoft proper, the enterprise side, the $1 trillion company, has given them permission to really go after it. And I think that's nothing but great for consumers, even though in any given case, it's not great for a PlayStation fan if they don't get to play Starfield on their chosen box.
Yeah.
But great to have just full-throated competition and the money in the gaming industry ecosystem.
It's interesting. I and I'll just mention this real quick because I do on every BRAP show. I was actually an Xbox Live beta tester. But I was, you mentioned 20 years ago, Hogue, of the Xbox platform. The OG Xbox, Microsoft was definitely behind them. Like they had kind of carte blanche. They kind of were left to their own devices, and we saw kind of what they could do with, and what they did with. Yeah. I mean, you look at, they bought Rare. People don't remember that. That happened to the OG Xbox. A lot of franchises were birthed on the OG Xbox. If you think of Splinter Cell, they landed, Team Ninja with Ninja Gaiden as an exclusive. I mean, that was like, when that happened, that was like everyone was like, oh my God, like Ninja Gaiden's not going to be on PlayStation? Like, what is that? And Itagaki-san was like, yeah, PlayStation 2 is trash, pretty much. It's like more or less that's what he basically said.
Well, there are unwise things to say in given generations, but it's fine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this fight, if you will, if you want to call it a fight, it's really great. Someone mentioned Atoji in the live chat. Atoji was one of the great Xbox games, in my opinion, developed by From Software. I'm a big fan of From because of the Soul series, but and Bloodborne, which Mr. Babbitt, I don't know if you know.
It's game of the generation.
It might be the game like of the millennia. Maybe that's a little bit too much.
I wouldn't argue with that.
Mr. Babbitt's like, I'm not gonna argue. I see people spinning off some of the great games on the OG Xbox. Panzer Dragoon Orta was another one. Jet Set Radio Future. So yeah, this is fun. Like me personally as a gamer, I'm excited about having these two companies kind of fight for our dollars. And I own all the platforms, and it's a win-win. It's super exciting. Like we had Benji Sales on last week, and Benji's like, this is kind of like a golden age of gaming. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. Like you have Nintendo firing on all cylinders. You have Microsoft doing what they're doing now. You have Sony, Sony's continuing to do what they're doing.
No, I think it really will be. I mean, I think the seeds are planted there. I think where you get some of this anxiety is that they haven't quite grown for the 8th generation here, because the pandemic slowed things down a little bit, honestly.
Absolutely.
And then we're waiting. Also, there's a number of people that really desperately want one or both of these boxes that can't get them, and that creates angst as well.
Yeah, that's another interesting issue, with the chip shortage. Like, are they going to be able to? I know Jim Ryan recently said, and we'll talk about Jim Ryan's recent comments, but he's saying that they're trying to shore up more PlayStation 5s to get to the marketplace. Oh my God. OBM says, I'm not excited about aimbots on PC, sir. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of PC slender since last night, but that's okay. I lost my train of thought.
Suck.
PC's Mr. Babbitt, PC's the best platform to play games. I'll just leave it at that.
Best place for Photoshop, sure, but my video games, mouse and keyboard.
Mr. Babbitt, wait till you see Bloodborne on PC at 60 frames per second. Oh, it's amazing.
I'll buy it. Yeah, sure. That's not the point. I'm playing it with a DualSense. That's what I'll do when I'm on PC, not this mouse and keyboard stuff.
I do love the PlayStation 5 controller. I will admit that.
I do too.
So
I think it's a great controller. But yeah, like you mentioned, like you brought up Returnal, Hogue, and Returnal looked, I thought, amazing. By the way, I was blown away.
It has come together. There were periods of time where I was like, oh, okay, Housemarque, you go, give it a try. And I love Housemarque. I was sad when they announced they were no longer going to do kind of the pure arcade games. And then Returnal was like, oh, all right. And then in the last few months, and this is the nature of video game development. They come together, right? It has really, really been attractive to me. And then the previews come out, and everybody is saying really nice things about it. And I'm like, okay, let's play this. I'm rooting for Housemarque. I've always liked their video interviews. I've always liked their output. This is the big leagues. This is a full price game. So I very much hope
I saw Hogue, and I'm just gonna counter lawyer you here. I saw someone on Twitter post a video, a 1-minute one, and so that's all the information I need to know, of side by side between this game and Recore, and it's pretty much the same thing. So like, why don't people like Recore? I'm really excited for, like, jokes aside, I'm really excited for Returnal. Like that, this has been a game that like I want to see Housemarque do some really great things with.
Yep.
Because they're just such a talented studio, and seeing them get the influx of cash by Sony to make this thing is awesome, and seeing the previews that are so glowing is amazing. And now all I want is just Sony and Housemarque to tie the knot. Housemarque's been a good studio for Sony for a very long time, so let's do this.
Well, I would say, the tie the knot, it takes two to tango. I mean, Insomniac was independent for a long time because they didn't want to be anything else.
Yep.
So I don't know what the status of Housemarque is, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't want to be in a multinational global conglomerate. It really depends on the culture of the entities.
Yeah, all I feel like is if Housemarque is getting their somewhat independence still, because the one quote that did stick out to me was when they announced that they're gonna move away from arcade, and they were just like, yeah, our games are not hitting as hard. And then Storm Divers came out.
Storm Divers, yeah.
Or was announced, and there's just like a battle royale game by Housemarque, and then they went just completely silent. So I'm hoping because again, as this is where the PlayStation fanboy comes out of me, just seeing the way these two companies have interacted with each other, it seems like a very positive relationship between the two.
Well, I've said it in other places, but yeah, I think that Sony has used Housemarque for a couple of generations now to be their early show-off game, to show, hey, look at the console being all shiny. You should buy this because of how shiny it is. And Housemarque's really good at that. Really good at figuring out where the early programming metal is and making some really fancy stuff. The Returnal stuff has that same effect. You get the little gifts, you watch the video, and you're like, wow, that is really, really shiny. And I think that's going to be a good system mover. Now, the thing Sony's got on its side is it doesn't have systems to move. So it's it's an interesting thing, but I do think that Returnal is coming out at a really good time for a hungry audience that does have PlayStation 5s under their TVs, is getting those glowing previews, and I think it's going to be the surprise kind of hit for Sony. And if it is, I couldn't be happier for that company, because I really do think they put out solid stuff that I've apparently enjoyed more than the market for as long as I've been aware of their existence.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hogue. I think a lot of people are chomping at the bit to get that, next generation experience. I mean, look, I know, Demon's Souls was a, exclusive launch title for the PlayStation 5, but that's been pretty much it though since November in terms of like, true next generation game exclusive to the PlayStation that takes advantage of all its, its features. And, this game Returnal, as I'm watching it, like it looks like a next generation game. And I don't know if you guys saw, I forget his last name, but Blessings from Kind of Funny.
The Raindrop video?
Yeah, the Raindrop video. Like, how cool was that?
It's so funny because you want to talk about hunger. That was actually one of the things that I was thinking about, is like there is a hungry audience, because that video went viral of a vibrating controller making raindrops. And it's like, yeah, no, that's very impressive.
Right?
Don't get me wrong, but like that's a hungry audience.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this game, and it's launching in the launch window for it. It's launching before Resident Evil, and and it's like 2 weeks before Mass Effect. But I think it's kind of in a nice launch window because we really haven't had anything really. I mean, Outriders, that was March or April 1st, and then MLB The Show recently. But it's been kind of at least in terms of next generation exclusive content, it's been dry. And
Totally.
I think this game's going to do better than what a lot of people realize. Go ahead, Mr. Rabbit.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people we talk about the global panorama that we're living in.
Panorama.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Mr. Rabbit, I got my second shot Thursday, by the way.
Jose in our Discord always says a different word that starts with P for the global panorama that we're in. So anyway, I do think that a lot of people are used to 2019, even with what we were dealing with. We still had it was probably one of the most loaded years when it comes to games, especially if you're in the PlayStation land. It was a really great year for y'all, and we tend to forget that 7+ years ago when the PS4 and Xbox One launched, we had a pretty dry year there, and so I was expecting a dryish year coupled with what we've been dealing with. And honestly, I feel like comparatively between the generations, this has probably been the best in terms of content, just for the simple fact that we're able to use backwards compatibility to play those old games while we're waiting for the new games. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what Returnal does, how those numbers look. I'm super excited for Resident Evil 8, Ratchet and Clank, and most of all, I'm super excited to see whenever Halo comes out what that's going to be, because it's going to be gosh dang gorgeous. I cannot wait. Every time they drop a new Spartan with the ray traced reflections off their helmet, I'm just
enhance.
That's what I want. It was amazing. So
yeah. It's interesting. One topic that's come up when you discuss Returnal is that $70 price tag. Mm-hmm. And people are kind of saying, is that $70 going to prohibit people from maybe buying this game? Is $70 too much to pay for games? I'm in the mindset of I don't think. Look, am I thrilled about paying more money? No, but I'm going to buy the game because I want it, right? What do you guys think about this, the conversation around Returnal and whether or not this is a $70 game? And if it doesn't, Metacritic 8 or 9, that, it's not going to live up to that. I feel like people putting that expectation of $70 games is, if it's $70, it's got to be a 9 out of 10 on Metacritic. It's got to be Game of the Year contender. What do you guys think about that?
To me, it's a little bit funny in terms of I'm older than some of the audiences that I talk to, but when I was growing up, there wasn't a flat price for video games. That I remember vividly having Super Nintendo games be $80. Yeah. I remember whatever Phantasy Star 3 cost, 90, 100. I don't know what it cost. It was the notion that games are and forever have to be 60 is probably a little bit erroneous. Now, I do think that there's a flip side to that there are some games that are probably rightly 40 or 45 or 50 that pop up to 60. And then you could say, okay, well, we need to have just a generalized bigger spectrum of prices. But it's interesting to me because the same argument for, hey, it should hit a certain quality threshold before I pay $70, that applies to 60. It's just $10 more. I don't know whether Returnal will be worth $70 to me. I don't know whether it'll be worth $70 to you. I also don't know that $70 to me is the same as $70 to you or to anybody else. It's one of the reasons that reviews kind of avoid price discussions is because
that's a great point.
The value of money is wildly different depending on income and circumstances and everything else that goes into the equation. So we can only kind of look at the art as what it is, and then you can decide for yourself what the value is. Do I think it's going to depress purchases long run? I don't. because I think that for the most part, people are going to get used to it and they're going to pay the extra money, and that'll be it. I do think that sales might become more important. And certainly publishers and developers and platform holders alike have trained us to wait things out for not too terribly long periods of time. I always joke, I love Ubisoft games. I know a number of people hate them. I like the one Ubisoft game and the different skins they put on it. I agree that they have that kind of thing. But certainly they're very funny in that you buy a Ubisoft game and basically immediately you feel like you were dumb to do so because it's like half price the next week. Like that's how it works.
Yeah.
And so I think that $70 is going to make that a little bit more heightened, right? Because that $10 is probably going to come off as a percentage. So you're probably going to have deeper discounts on a dollar for dollar basis, and it's going to make it more sense for people to wait. It's also, obviously, from Microsoft's perspective, going to make anything where you're in on a buffet style pricing more attractive.
Yeah. And you know, OBM One Bad Mother brings up a great point about the $70 price point. He says he's worried about its price point, the $70 price point, helping the game get discovered, which is kind of interesting.
I don't think it has that problem because it's backed by PlayStation. So like you see it on the front page. I don't think discoverability is.
Yeah, you won't lose Returnal. You won't lose Returnal, but there are $70 games that you might. I mean, like I don't. There will be games as this generation proceeds, and if $70 becomes the number, that some are going to get lost in the wash. That's what's going to happen. Is Tales of the Orion going to lose sales because it's $70? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look at Destruction All Stars, right? That game was supposed to come out at $70.
Oh my God! Thank God Sony. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Sony made definitely the right call. They really should have just made it free forever. But you know, there's going to be games that are going to lose out on its price tag, and I think that I don't know if it speaks to it as being like a flooded market or what have you, but yeah, I don't think Returnal, speaking from this example, is going to be lost because of $70. And I think Hogue, you're right. $70 for you or me or BRAP, it's different for all of us here, right? Mm-hmm. So like it's going to mean different for everyone. That's what makes things like GamePass so attractive, is that you can take away if this game is a $60 game, $40 game, $20 game, $15 game, and you then just think about it as it's a game. And you kind of get rid of the pricing scheme as a whole, and you're able to judge it on purely its merits, which not a lot of gamers kind of get to do. And it kind of forces them to look at it that way, because that's how a good reviewer is supposed to look at it. So, talking to my friend Ainsley on Cast Co-op about it, it is eye-opening about how these pricing schemes are going to translate to the average consumer in various different ways. I do think you're going to have people who buy Returnal for $70 going, am I getting $70 for this game instead of, am I getting a really good game out of here? You're going to have various different expectations for it. And I think at the long run, it may take a year or two to get people accustomed to the idea of spending $70, and having that not be the mindset when they buy a game going, oh shit, 70. But yeah, I think I think for the most part, North American or American buyers aren't going to have the hardest time. I just feel so bad. On the podcast this week, we had a comment from someone from Australia going, I'm from Australia. Games cost $125. I would love to buy a Returnal, but $125 Australian, I just can't do it.
Sure.
And I'm like, and it's such like me being the boneheaded American thing of just like thinking about myself going, yeah, everybody else is fine. But like, inflation, how those prices go up over there. You never really think about it until someone lets you know. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting generation in terms of pricing of games and such.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did Crossfire, and Middle Age Gaming Guy was on there, and he lives in Toronto, Canada, and so he brought up that point where in Canada he's like, this hurts. that $70 increase or that increase of $10 where games are now like $105 there. And, he said that, it's, the US, $70 might not be a big deal, but in other parts of the world, it's a really big deal, where they're paying over $100 for games. And yeah, I could certainly, that sucks. I can't say if I had to pay $100 for a game, I'd be happy,
Right.
Which, by the way, games on PC are still $60. Just want to throw that out there to anyone who's interested in.
Okay, go update a driver. I don't want to hear it.
my drivers are up to date, sir. With that though, we got Mr. Gaming Forte in the house here. Forte, and I'm glad you jumped in, Forte, when you did, because you're on the retail side of things, man. How do you think this $70 thing is going to impact, business per se?
It might not really at all. I mean, especially once more of the third-party developers, the games that people really care about the most, start doing that. We already see it. I made this argument last year. I was like, you have those subset of people that don't even spend $60 as it is already, especially when it comes to like games like NBA and Call of Duty. They're always buying the middle to the top tier version of the game, which can cost anywhere from $80 to $100. So like Babbitt just said, it's in the eye of the beholder. The dollar is valued to everybody differently. I just think, like, for a lot of people, it just comes down to the state that these games be releasing in, and that kind of like sticks it. Like, that's what sticks in my craw. Like, you want to literally raise the price of your games when you want me to buy your game day one, and then you want me to spend more money on it, but then you don't give me that day one experience that I deserve to have if I'm giving you more money for a product. I understand that, supply and demand is a thing, but that is what kind of hurts other games and stuff. Returnal might be a great game. It looks like a really good game. And like I was telling everybody on DPS, I was against buying it day one, not because it was 70, just because it's still the unknown. But then I saw the trailer. I saw the 17-minute gameplay, and then there's also a 45-minute gameplay out there that you can watch too. And I was like, okay, this looks cool. So now I'm more. Now
are you day one?
I haven't decided yet.
Oh.
You give me a good dodge mechanic in a video game?
Yeah, dude.
Give me a good dodge mechanic.
It looks so good, but it's like
crispy.
It just comes back to, everything else. It's like all of the launches up to this point, for the most part, highlighted, mainly by Cyberpunk, just literally just kind of takes it. Yeah. It like takes the air out of the room when it comes to wanting to spend just your hard-earned money for these games, especially if you're the type of person that likes to buy your games day one. And there's a whole bunch of games coming out. You got Resident Evil coming out next month. You got Ratchet & Clank coming out in 2 months. You got Returnal coming out. You got a slew of other. And then you got Nier Automata just came out. Replicate just came out 2 days yesterday. So it's like when you look at it, it's like, is it bad to spend 70? I don't think $70 itself is the hang up. I just think for me, it's more of games haven't been in the state for me to spend $60 on them, but then you want me to raise the price and spend more money on them. And Returnal was kind of in that space, just for the simple fact that other games kind of put it there. Not saying that Returnal is going to be broken on day one, because I think it's going to be phenomenal, but you got to be careful with your money nowadays.
No, I think you made a great point because Cyberpunk, look at all those trailers we saw of it. People walking out, Ains selling out with that yellow chair.
Yeah, shout out to Ainge. I'll be on there today in an hour.
Yeah, shout out to the person who used the picture of Ainge's chair to prove a point.
Exactly. Oh my god, so that was such an amazing thread. But like you saw that game, it was no way. They got Keanu. It's gonna be great, and then you get review codes, like 2 days before the game comes out. That's a warning sign, my friend. And, like Returnal, that was, to me, I'm always like, okay, so if it's a Sony game, if I hear about it a week or a week or two before the game comes out, Sony has a lot of confidence in this game. This game is going to be really good. If they're just like a few days before, the game's supposed to come out, and then people are getting their codes, then something's fucked up. Something doesn't smell right. So yeah, I'm totally with you there, Forte. There's a lot of really awesome games coming out, but at the same exact time, yeah, we've seen some really awesome games not pan out. Some very high level or highlighted games not pan out the way they.
Well, the funny thing is, like, there was a lot of conversation around Demon Souls being $70, and it wasn't because of the quality of the game. It was the fact that it was a remake of a game, and people felt like, why am I spending $70 on a remake? But people bought it, and guess what? People loved it, and people genuinely went out and bought that game at that price tag, and that game is still that price to this day. So like, I bought Demon Souls day one, so it was like a lot of people were sitting there like, $70 is this unclimbable barrier that's in front of them. I don't think that's the case. It just comes down to people don't like remakes being $70. I seen that early in the generation, and until we get a bunch of games stringed together that come out at that price point, or just games in general that aren't more on the I have to wait to get it fixed like Outriders, then you'll start seeing people probably more in line with paying more and more money, because guess what? If it's a game that people love, they'll spend the money. People know that NBA 2K is going to be broken every year at the beginning, but guess what? The majority of the people that buy that game are the people that buy it at $100 to get that legendary edition, and they don't care. Same thing with Call of Duty. When Call of Duty gave you that season pass, which one did they buy the most? They bought the Prestige edition, which was like $100 to $120.
Yeah.
So people don't care about the price. It's just the fact if they love something, they're going to spend the money no matter what. But when it's a game like Returnal and the unknown, it's like, oh, that's such a huge price. I don't even know what this game's going to be about. Just imagine if games like Death Stranding was $70 and it was a walking simulator that felt like you were delivering packages. Then you would have got double jeopardy on that game. And guess what? That game is still going to be the same game that it is. But if you would have added $10 to that price point, it would have been even worse, just because it would have been double jeopardy on that game then.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, gentlemen. I know Hogan's got to get out of here.
I just I have to bounce.
Yeah, no, I just want to first, give you an outro, Hogue. Say thank you for coming on again, BRAP, man. Always a pleasure having you on. Please let everyone know where they can find you.
Absolutely. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoeglaw, HOEGLAW. But most prominently, I think most people know me from Virtual Legality, which is the show we do on the business and law of video games, music, movies, television, and pop culture on YouTube, youtube.com/Hoeglaw. And we just covered, as I like to say, Sony did Virtual Legality a solid this week. They had a lot to say. We had a lot of videos to do on them. And so if you're interested in the kinds of conversations that y'all have here at BRAP and elsewhere, please come consider giving Virtual Legality a check. We're talking about, and hopefully making entertaining, law and business for all of this stuff. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, Hogue. Always a pleasure having you on, man. Thank you again for your
Always
time.
A pleasure.
Appreciate
Always
it, man.
a pleasure. Yeah.
All right. I forgot what we were discussing. I think Forte.
I need a video. From Hogue discussing why the CEO of GameStop got $179 million for not doing it.
Wow. Talk about a golden parachute. Talk about a golden parachute.
When I saw that, I was like, yo, 179 million.
I was like, can Forte get some of that money?
Oh my God. So man, I'm not hitting the hustle. Not hitting the hustle.
I mean, that guy's a greedy son of a bitch.
I mean, considering
the day we finally eat the rich, it's gonna feel so good.
Yeah.
Cannibalism for the win.
Oh boy. Hey guys, so I want to get to a topic here regarding Game Pass. We just found out that Game Pass has hit 23 million subscribers.
Good job.
This is, look, kudos to, hats off to Microsoft, by the way, for one, getting, putting together this service, and two, for the continuing support and building out of the platform. I mean, I think this is just the beginning for Game Pass. I'm fairly bullish on the service now because of recent additions like Outriders and MLB The Show. And we're still waiting for those Microsoft first party games to start, dripping into the service. And we know that they're going to be looking at other partners to bring other third-party games day and date to the service too. I mean, that's going to, there's that rumor of Battlefield 6. But yeah, this is, again, very impressive to hit this number. I think I wouldn't be surprised, guys. This is my guesstimation here that they hit 30 million subs by the end of the year. Especially,
easy. Yeah,
I think that's a shoe-in at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the service is doing so good. I'm a broken record talking about it because to me, Xbox has done a fantastic job, and it is proving to be the future of what this company is. We always argue about which box is best, but look, I just played on xCloud for the first time with touch controls, right? Dead Cells. And yeah, there's a little bit of hiccups, but here or there. But once it started, it felt good. It felt great. All through the power of the cloud of my iPhone. And like, that's the crazy thing. That's what the platform is in the box. The box is just a part of the platform, which is Game Pass.
The question, I do have a question. Is it through the browser or is it an app actually?
So they say it is technically through an app. So you have to kind of like bookmark it on, I forget what they say. It's kind of like a bookmarking thing. It puts it puts the web browser as an app on the phone. So it's kind of like a it's you see.
Do you have an Apple phone?
Oh yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
Me walking around with a Samsung.
Who doesn't? What?
Who doesn't?
Exactly. Who doesn't? Seriously.
Look,
everything else is just fucking.
Where's Slow-Mo?
Yeah, it's me.
Listen, man. Once I was one of those starch defenders of Samsung, and I was like, my wife already had an iPhone, and I was like, man, it was like that whole thing. Let me try the iPhone before I keep bashing it.
Yeah,
because that's when they started the whole jump program at T-Mobile, and you can like go back and forth year to year. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna jump over for a year. I'm gonna get the iPhone 6, and then I was like, I'll jump back to the Note 7. And that's because I was on Note 4 at the time, so I was like, I'll jump over. So I jumped over, and I was like, oh, this is okay. This is good. I miss my Samsung, and I was like, okay, I miss it. And then all of a sudden, Here comes the Note 7, and guess what happened with the Note 7? Everybody knows what happened with the Note 7. It was burning. Right. It caused combustion fusion in people's pockets, and I was like, "Yo, well, I guess I'm staying on Apple another year." So then I kept my iPhone 6 for another year, and then by that time, after having an iPhone for like 3 years, it was like, "Yo, let me get an Apple Watch. Let me get some earpods." My wife got
how they fucking get you, dude.
My kid, my youngest kid got her first phone at 9, and then she got an iPhone 6 that we gave her, and then FaceTime was just much easier. And the next thing I know, I was like, man, I could jump over to the Note 9, but then
I lose messages. That's the one thing people forget. All right. Oh, Android's so good. Android's so good. You guys have green bubbles when you talk to me. I automatically feel like you're below me.
Android is from the green. Android is the GOAT right now.
Android is like, listen.
I have
8 different text apps. Choose one. Okay,
yeah, that's true.
You got all these redundant ass apps, and they're like, oh, but I could customize it. I could make my wallpaper this cute little anime girl from Naruto. I don't know. I don't know. And she's a hologram. She loves me just the way I am. Like, I don't want that. Just give me a phone, give me a web browser, give me a Twitter so that I could just say my shitty hot takes online, and then just give me messages. Make it so that I put my ear pods in. I don't have to fiddle around with goddamn Bluetooth settings.
All right.
Everything should just work.
We're going to move on from the Android slander here.
Hey man,
and get back to GamePass.
Every once in a while, I do miss Android, especially when xCloud wasn't coming to Apple for a while, and I miss it every once in a while. But it's like
Someone says Apple's got you brainwashed with blue bubbles. They absolutely do,
They
dude.
do. Look, the fact I can see people that read my messages, and I can make and I got multiple FaceTime chats that I can have a whole family in. Oh man, it's great, man.
Let me tell you something.
Oh, boy.
Just the fact that like I'm on my MacBook and like I get a text message on my MacBook. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Great.
Ain't
I
it
don't have to be
beautiful?
near
Oh,
the
my
phone.
goodness.
It's just
This is
there.
this is turned
FaceTime pops up on your MacBook and everything.
this is turned into a pro Apple podcast.
Look,
right now.
my iPad could be sitting right next to my MacBook, and they both ring at the same time.
And
All
look,
right.
Jim Apple may slap me around sometimes when it comes to podcast feeds, you son of a gun, but I'll still buy the next iPad. That's what I'm probably doing after the show. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a
All
sucker.
right, so let's get back to Game Pass.
Yeah, okay.
Finally coming to iOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's and actually I was thinking about the whole iOS thing, right? And obviously this is part of their grander plan to really kind of break down those walled gardens and give people accessibility to the Xbox platform across multiple devices. That's only going to fuel the growth of Game Pass. I mean, I think that's the obvious, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I was actually surprised that they let iOS let Game Pass on there, considering that Apple's got its own Apple Arcade situation. But Mr. Babbitt, you're saying it works well though on iOS though, right? Like what you've played so far.
Yeah, it plays all right.
Plays better on
I
Android.
see some people in the chat going, "Oh, this, PS Now streams better. This, that, the other thing." Listen, I don't have barely enough time to give xCloud an endorsement or not. What I've played, the 15 minutes while eating my eggs this morning, was pretty good. The beginning was very like I feel like things were like loading in, because I was just the frames were dropping or stuttering. The game was stuttering, and it didn't feel nice. But once the first few minutes kind of came and went, it was a smooth experience. Like I felt like my movement was 1-to-1. I was pressing the virtual button. My guy was doing a jump virtually. There was no lag, seemingly. And that was the impressive thing. So once the app started working right, yeah, it's fantastic. And especially since this is off a web browser because Apple is Apple. It was impressive. Is it better than PlayStation Now? I don't know, still probably. But at the same exact time, I don't know if it's like by a country mile.
Okay. All right. Forte. I was waiting for Forte to chime in, but I guess he didn't.
Look, man, it's a great feat. It's I've been telling people this for a while. Once the snowball starts rolling, that's all. Nothing's going to stop it because everybody wants to save money. Nobody wants to. This goes back to the whole $70. Why spend $70 on something? And yeah, you inherently feel like you probably spending more money, but you're really not, because like I was telling people, all it takes, depending on what tier of Game Pass you're in, it only takes either 2 or 3 games to basically pay for your subscription for the entire year. For me, it was Outriders. I know Halo's coming at the end of the year. So if you're a person that partake in Outriders already, and Halo comes out, your subscription was already paid for. Everything else you get is pretty much, eggs and bacon. You ain't got to pay for
eggs and bacon.
Eggs and bacon. You was gonna spend $120 on those 2 games. You already made up your money in your membership already. And in my case, I have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, so I'm still. It's like MLB would have been it, but I'm not going to say I was going to buy that because I was so on the fence about that game. But there's probably going to be another game, so I'm still $60 down. But if one game comes out that surprised me, like say if they put Battlefield 6 in there, then I'm like, yo, so Game Pass paid for itself for this year for me. So I always look at when people say, who wants to spend this much money or spend all this money on one game when you could just own that one game and not have to be in the subscription service? Well, it just ultimately comes down to what it values to you. Like at a certain point, like I'm pretty much done with Outriders. So if I would have paid $60 for that, would I really felt like I got my money's worth with it, especially with the game not working as much as it needed to work day one? A lot of people probably tell you no. They probably would have been a little slighted by it.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was in Game Pass and it shouldn't be an excuse for a game to be not work because it's in Game Pass. But people enjoyed their time with the game. So now they're basically just waiting for them to either fix it so they can jump back in, or People Can Fly is going to miss the bus because a lot of people are going to move on from their game and play something else. And that's basically how it kind of works inside of that service and stuff. So if you find 2 or 3 games that you want to play, then it's a benefit to you, especially if they show up in that service. So this is great for Microsoft. And it's great for third party. And this is all without them even having a first party presence in the beginning of this year. And that's the craziest part about it.
And I know, like, it's often like the wait for E3 thing, but like, yeah, just wait till the Bethesda games start really coming out, like your Starfields, your Elder Scrolls, your Dooms, and whatnot. That's really going to be. I'm wondering how Game Pass takes off from there, because Fallout's huge. You know, Elder Scrolls is huge.
Dude,
Doom.
Imagine Starfield.
Doom made almost $900 million in a year or some shit, some crazy number.
500 million. 500 million.
500 million. Something stupid and ridiculous, and they done made it. So like, yeah, when Xbox first parties actually start coming out, it's going to be something really, really crazy to see, because look, Xbox really not only bought legacy with Bethesda, but they bought some really quality IP. And now we can assume that Indiana Jones is going to be an exclusive as well. That may have some extra pull. That may be the Uncharted they need. So, yeah, it's going to be really awesome to see how Game Pass evolves over time. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
It also goes to show PlayStation does not have a lot of time to make a service that is capable. They got the clock's ticking on whatever that counter.
Yeah, and to
I'm
that
interested
point,
to know what Enrique thinks about this, because I heard him on BRAP yesterday, and I'm not
BRAP
on
Crossfire.
On Crossfire. Well, it's the new BRAP, but
the new BRAP.
with 2 mooches yelling at each other. That's what the show was yesterday. Okay. But shout out to Mooch and Mag. But listen, I just want to know what you got to say about this, because it seems like you were going back and forth again, because Mooch was going back and forth again, and I need you to tell me, how do you feel about this?
What do you mean I was going back and forth?
I need you to tell me how you feel about this. No. I got to put your feet to the fire.
Wait, Forte. What do you mean I was going back and forth?
Look, sometimes you pick your words. You choose your words wisely, sir. I want you to tell me how you feel.
No. You need to tell me what that means. Go back and forth.
Listen, I will tell you what it means after.
No. You need to tell me now, because
you're flip flopping, Brap. What's your stance? He wants a hard answer.
No, I'm not. What do I think about? What I think about? What are you asking?
What do you think about the 23 million? Where do you think this is going to land Game Pass? Do you think this is sustainable? How do you feel about the whole situation? Do you feel like it's about how they announce these numbers and stuff? Do you think it's 23 concurrent? Do you think it's active? Do you think it's combined? I need to know these things from you, sir.
Well, look, I mean,
do you care about it being a dollar deal people in there? Do you care about the 3 months and the hot pocket people? Do you care? That's all.
I think you could certainly have a conversation around the academics of, what the breakdown looks like. I don't think there's an issue with that. But do I personally care about how many people are in Game Pass with $1? No. But if somebody wants to have that conversation and is interested in looking at the breakdown, I don't have an issue with that. Me personally, it's not something that I would talk about. But look, I think 23 million. It's my understanding. It's 23. It's current subscribers, right?
Yes.
And I think that's great. I mean, I think they've added like another 1.3 million or something. I think since the release of like Outriders or something, or I don't remember what Grub was talking about it. But
yeah, Grub was talking
look, about it. I didn't really see a ton of value in the service for me in the beginning of this year, and then Outriders came out and MLB came out. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I want to see, right? And now I'm really excited. Like I was excited for the first party stuff, but but we weren't getting that first party stuff like right away. I knew that. Like Halo was probably gonna be the first party game. And by the way, shout out to Capoto 5150, Mr. Forte. He said BRAP has already admitted that Game Pass is a disruption to the gaming industry, and I have said that.
You have said that, and I just want to make sure that's the line we're staying on.
Because, but so I don't know what you're saying in regards to
I just
back
want
and
to
forth
make
mooch.
sure. I'm just trying to keep the integrity of.
No,
BRAP.
I know. You're trying to stir the pot, is what you're trying to do. I know what you're doing, Forte.
Kind of.
No, you're kind of. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we are on a straight and narrow.
Your fellow brethren's in the live chat, Mr. Shlomo Backslap. He said he's calling you Lord Flip Flop. I see what you're doing, Forte. You like to stir the pot. You like to get people riled up. No, because Forte.
Slow-mo know it though. Slow-mo know it.
But Slow-mo knows it.
Sorry, go for it.
No, I was gonna say Slow-mo knows it, but he gets turned up on DPS.
Oh my God.
I want to talk about the unbiased opinion from PlayStation Kings. Game Pass sucks. Only has 3 new games. LOL. Outriders, which was buggy. Baseball. LOL. Who fucking cares about baseball, right? PlayStation Kings, right? Like who cares?
Hey, are you? Let me ask you some question, Mr. Babbitt. Are you
trade at 30 FPS and 20 FPS at some points? He knows this because PlayStation Kings knows all.
Would you expect any different from PlayStation Kings?
Game Pass trash.
I mean, that's his name, PlayStation Kings.
I just love those. I'm teasing you, PlayStation Kings. I don't believe much of Monarchs, but you do you. Okay. Also, MLB The Show. That's a PlayStation. That's been a PlayStation game for 10 plus years. We're just gonna write it off because it's an Xbox. It's on Xbox now.
Oh, I told you
over it.
I told you what was going to happen. It's like remember that conversation like a couple years ago, or probably a year ago, where everybody kept saying that Game Pass devalues games, and all of us. And remember when we were saying, "Oh, MLB, it's the premier experience." Baseball is only available on PlayStation, but now all of a sudden, is MLB devalued because it's on Game Pass?
Right. And then you have like fanboys that are like, whatever, like San Diego, like Team San Diego's trash, or like MLB The Show is trash. It's like, no, that studio's been cranking out.
I gotta say something here. I gotta say
something
here real quick. This is to some people in the live chat. What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Like, what are we doing? Like, seriously, like that's all? Only trash developers put their games in Game Pass, like Sony San Diego Studios? Really?
Oh, look at it.
Sony San Diego, because let me just say something to you, Mr. That's all. Clearly you're not a gamer, and I'm going to call you out on the fact that you're not a gamer because you clearly don't understand, sir or ma'am, whatever you are.
Sir or ma'am.
You don't understand. You clearly don't understand how difficult it is as a game developer to consistently put out a top quality content year after year. Now he's saying it's sarcasm. Is it really sarcasm?
Oh, it's sarcasm. Okay. Well, all right, that's all. But I'm just
maybe it is, but it doesn't sound like sarcasm.
These developers made this game during a global panorama. Are you kidding me? Working from home for over a year on this game. That's talent, man. That boy's good on talent. Them. So like, I don't want to, games don't get devalued because of Game Pass. Dumb fanboys devalue games because of dumb, idiotic ideologies between two pieces of plastic. Jim Ryan did not call me when I had COVID-19. Neither did Phil Spencer, because they're not my fucking friends. They're business people trying to run a business. And depending on what you value more, that's how it's going to affect your bottom line. I don't care how Jim Ryan's day is going. I care that Jim Ryan is going to keep offering the games that speaks to me, and that's why I play primarily on PlayStation. That being said, just because I play primarily on PlayStation doesn't mean I have to go running around saying that Xbox is stupid and like Game Pass is dumb, because it's not. It's fucking cool. And if it was PlayStation Game Pass, we'd be all fucking cheering for it. So shut up, sit down, take some fucking notes about how to be a decent human being, and honestly, don't fucking hide your name and your little gamer tag, right? If this is your true opinion, hi, my name's Joseph. This is my true opinion. Video games belong to everybody.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny, Mr. Badbit? It's like every time we talk about Game Pass, and I just want to finish
okay, real talk. PlayStation Kings. Only 3 new games. Why pay for that to play old games? Dude, we're paying. What's PlayStation Now? What's PlayStation Now? What a dumb thing to say. What makes you look so stupid? What's PlayStation Now? But you have 500 plus PS3 games. I'm playing Infamous 1, Infamous 2 on PlayStation Now. I'm enjoying the hell out of my time. Old games are not just old because they lack a 4K, texture. No, get out of here with that nonsense. What's PlayStation Now? Why did PlayStation just reopen the PS3 and the PlayStation Vita stores? You fucking moron. Jesus.
Hey, by the way,
and then he gets to pick and choose what he likes. I don't care about PS Now. I don't give a shit about your opinion. You get to pick and choose what you like and what you don't like. It's stupid. It's not.
Let him go. Let him
go.
Mr.
Babbitt, that Latino's coming out of you right now, sir.
It is. I'm getting my Abuelo's energy.
Look. Let me just say something real quick. Look. If you want to make comments like this, moving forward, we're only going to read comments that come in color. If you know what I mean, Gaming Forte.
That's true.
I do.
But to
you know what? Down with the Monarchs. I don't like them.
Yeah, but look, real quick. Oh man, that was the rant of rants by Mr. Badbit, by the way.
I'm sorry, it's just so stupid when I see those stupid illogical comments, and I don't fall for them often. I try not to.
You
I
don't.
Try to be a positive boy. Don't. But when I see people that obviously fucking still, I don't know.
Yeah,
use the fucking baby seat while driving. I don't know what the fuck this guy's deal is. Just fucking like video games. Why buy a console to play old games? Because I like video games. I don't give a shit. Like. I like Super Mario. It's one of the best games of all time. The game's like 20 plus years old. Are you kidding me? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, facts.
I'm done, idiots.
Look, I want to finish answering Forte's question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got very angry.
That Latino came out of you, man.
Yeah.
The Game Pass. Look, like I said, I think this is going to be a disruptor in the industry. I think once Microsoft starts dropping games like Fallout, Starfield. And look, if they start cranking out content that's on par, let's say from a quality perspective, on par of, let's say, what Nintendo does with some of their first party in terms of quality, and what Sony does in terms of quality of their first party, like, watch out, like, seriously, watch out, because I mean, you're 180. What is it? 180 for Ultimate Game Pass? Is that? Yep. I always get it confused. I mean, like, Game Pass Ultimate. I've got MLB The Show. I didn't get Outriders because I bought it on PC. But had I gotten, and I got the MLB. MLB was like what, $60, $70, whatever.
Yeah. 70.
Halo drops. That's going to be $70. No, Microsoft's not going to not charge $70 because, of course, they're going to charge $70. It makes sense for them to do it because guess what? You can either pay $70 or you can get it in Game Pass. So that's 2 games, but there's 140. That's, and then whatever else they sprinkle in, some other third-party games. I mean, like, it's going to pay for itself in a year.
Those are just 2 games. Those are 2 games.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I don't even care. That's what? That's 120 bucks right now. All right. Yeah, but I don't want to play old games, and I don't want to play baseball. And I was always picked last in gym. Okay? I don't want to play baseball. Be reminded of that. Okay?
I was always picked last in gym.
Oh my god!
I don't want to be reminded of those facts.
Mr. Babbitt is on the rants of all rants right now. So those are my thoughts, Forte, on Game Pass. So I'm not a flip flopper, sir.
No. I'm just keeping it consistent. That's it.
No, you were trying to stir the pot, Forte. Try to stir that pot.
Listen, we not gonna act like you did not have your moments. We just got to make sure that you are still with us.
Forte, what? All right, let's
just gotta make sure you're still with us, bro. That's it.
Let's go. Let's move on.
I'm keeping you honest.
Let's go.
Honestly, also when it comes to, like, is it concurrent or is it like the people that pay for $1? Chances are now they're paying $14 to $9 for it. So no, they're still not paying. I don't have the crinkled up coupons in my drawer of Xbox Game Pass going, oh wait, month's over, let me get this is $1 one. No, this is all you're paying, practically, full price for this now. And even if you're not, like, $5 a month, it's still a lot of money concurrent.
And even the people, that's the thing, even the people that are updated their stuff to go 3 years for that dollar upgrade, you got to think you still paid $180 for 3 years of Xbox Live, or maybe you got it for cheaper because you could have got Xbox Live for $40 or $30 because they do those half all deals on a year subscription. So at the bare minimum, you spent $91 for 3 years of Xbox Live Game Pass.
9 lives. I'm sub till 2024. My God.
I'm 2023 now because I added another year.
Yeah.
All right.
And honestly, again, both companies doing great. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's fantastic. I feel like, fanboys at this point, they are just arguing about like what they think. Look, we're talking, we brought Hoglaw in to talk about, lawyer jargon between the Capcom and PlayStation deal. And he's just like, yeah, nothing to panic about. It's a marketing deal. And you still see people go, oh man, I don't know. It's like, we had a legit lawyer tell you, don't worry, it's fine. Use a napkin. You got some schmear on your face. That's it. And people are still freaking out because we're waiting for someone to fuck up, because every generation, it seems like there is someone fucking up. And this generation's different. Both companies doing really good.
All three companies are doing well.
Folks.
All three companies are doing well.
Yeah.
It's great.
Nintendo out there eating glue like PlayStation Kings. And that's but Nintendo is doing fucking great. It's making billions of dollars off of selling you a game about making a house.
All right, gentlemen.
Good for him.
All right, Jim, I want to transition to the last topic of today. It's PlayStation firing back at critics. And what I mean by critics, like PlayStation's been under a lot of criticism, fire per se, and probably rightfully so with, that decision of the Vita and PlayStation 3 store and everything like that, selling PS Vita dev kits and then, stuff like that. And, they've since reversed, but look, they have been quiet. Like the Jim Ryan, the Jason Schreier article came out, talking about some of the things that are going on in the Eternal Studios and Days Gone 2 not being greenlit. And by the way, the Days Gone 2, I forget what it is, the petition to get the game made. It's at 75,000 signatures right now.
Those 75,000 people should have bought it at launch. Apparently.
Yeah, and Jim Ross is blown. I still think that game gets greenlit. I don't see how it doesn't, but I could be wrong. But
I think it depends on how that PC port does.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Mr. Babbitt. That's an excellent point. But you guys talked about this. I mean you and your best friend Kyle from the Trophy Room podcast. You guys talked about this, and I know Kyle seemed like he was excited when he read the part about the support of the Japanese market. But Sony, and perhaps maybe to silence its critics. And look, I agree with most everyone else. I think Sony has been too quiet. They probably needed to at least drip feed something. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a new game reveal. It doesn't have to be the new God of War Ragnarok trailer. It doesn't have to be any of that. But at least give us a little more info into what's going on. So Jim Ryan, CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, says that more PlayStation 5 will be home to more exclusive games than any previous PlayStation console. And he was speaking to, I can't pronounce this, is it Nikkei?
Yeah, you could just say, Nikkei.
Nikkei, okay.
Yeah.
He says, end quotes, we have been quietly but steadily investing in high-quality games for PlayStation. We'll make sure that the PlayStation 5 generation will have more dedicated software than ever before. We've repeatedly engaged in mergers and acquisitions, including Insomniac Games in the U.S. We will not rule that out or that option in the future. And I think he also said it's important for us to provide... Oh, this is the part that I remember... I think Kyle was kind of excited by this on your show, Mr. Badbit. But he said that Ryan told Nikkei that the company remains committed to the Japanese market. It is important for us to provide software that fits the Japanese gaming community, and PlayStation 5 has included a lot of software from Japanese developers since its early stages. We will continue to strengthen our ties with Japanese developers and release content for PS5 that fits the Japanese market. Look, I think, again, I love Kyle's reaction to this, and I think that this is kind of something that was, I think, from like talking to guys like Jay Barry, of point of concern for them, where they felt like, maybe Sony wasn't going to be making those, getting those Japanese type titles that have been really
Right.
synonymous with the PlayStation brand for such a long time, right? You think of games like Gravity Rush, or what's the one by Vanillaware? I forget it. 13 Sentinels or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so he's saying, look, we that's still very important to us. We recognize the importance of that market. We're still going to cater to them. And we're also, and I think this is a big statement. It's not new because he talked about the importance of having content, right? That, and I'm paraphrasing here, or he didn't exactly say this with quote, but that content is kind of king. I think he gets it. I think people, the natural knee-jerk reaction is Jim Ryan's not a gamer, and Jim Ross, who was on Jay with Jaffe, so when Jaffe asked him about about Jim Ryan, he said, "Look, Jim Ryan is more gaming savvy than people realize. The guy's been with PlayStation for a long time, by the way." So I think sometimes people,
I don't. If I could just jump in real fast, I don't think you need to be a gamer or need to have a high gamer score or 20 plus trophies, and that's how you're 20 plus plats and you're officially the PlayStation CEO. I don't think it should work like that. I think you need to be good at business to run a business first. Most of these hedge fund people that are in these firms don't even know what the fuck they're selling. They just talk about the product as the product and how we get that product to more eyes. They don't necessarily know what they're selling. They just know they need to sell a thing. And that's a fact. That's,
Yeah, and real quick, I want to give a big shout out to B Money 101. B, dude, hey, we missed you on BRAP this week, man. Hey, happy belated, by the way, man.
Happy birthday, dude.
Yeah, I asked you to come on, B, because one, I really want to get your thoughts on this, because I know when these stories come up, it's like, and you be like Mr. Eric Jackson, and I think the rest of the BRAP panel, we tend to be pretty, I think, in my opinion, tend to be pretty reasonable. I don't think we, are overreact to things, B. And so I want to read one more thing, B, before I get to your thoughts on this. The other thing Jim Ryan said is that Sony is devising a cloud strategy that will be unique and only to PlayStation. Which we know about the strategic partnership with Microsoft in 2019, using the firm's Azure data centers. But he did say, we're still having conversations with Microsoft about exchanging ideas. We're still talking to them about exchanging ideas, and there's some very interesting stuff. So when the time is right, we'll announce our cloud strategy. We could conceivably use cloud for technical infrastructure. The cloud gaming experience we're offering will be unique only on PlayStation. So he's giving us a little more insight into kind of that long-term strategy, if you will, with regards to PlayStation 5. But B, reading these quotes, man, you hearing about this, what are your thoughts on this, man?
To me, this is nothing new. This is all stuff that has been said and has been laid out on the table from the beginning. I think a lot of people just choose to ignore it, or whenever something major comes up, it's a big fire and everybody's got to run out of the house. And I think, as consumers, as gamers, we're very reactionary to whatever is going on at the moment. And I think that's why over the past, couple weeks, everybody's like, oh, PlayStation's dying, or, they're losing their identity, or, they're getting stumped out by Microsoft. And it's like, y'all chill. You know what I mean? Like, I was one of the few people when Jim Ryan got hired who was like super hyped. I was like, yo, this is an amazing hire for PlayStation. This is exactly what they need. They needed somebody to come in there, be business minded. I followed his work, everything he did in Europe, basically took over that entire market. So to take that and put that on a larger scale and put that on for the entire company, I felt like it was, one of the better fits that they could have, chosen. So for me, it's like, this isn't really new news to me. When they first announced the cloud thing, the partnership with Microsoft, they said that, it would be something that would be unique to PlayStation. It wouldn't be something that we see overnight. So, it's this information really isn't anything new to me. It's all stuff that I expected. It's stuff that has, been coming out over the past couple of years. So, people just gotta be patient, wait for it to happen, and everything will be all right.
Yeah, and to your point, Beast, is that people aren't patient, man. Because you're right. Like I understand some of the concerns, but I also thought that some of it was a little bit too hot, if you will. You know, like the house wasn't on fire per se, right?
Right. And you know, I mean, I think a lot of people just because Microsoft has made so much noise, it's putting a lot of pressure on PlayStation fans and just PlayStation in general, because everybody wants a response. Everybody feels like, oh, they swung, now you got to swing back, and I mean, we've kind of learned over time, like that's not really how it works.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sony was swinging all last generation. We were waiting for Microsoft to punch back. Now they're punching back. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen overnight. So, when Jim took over, there was a lot of structural changes that took place at PlayStation, and everybody was like, "Oh, what's he doing? He's killing everything over in Japan. He's shutting down all these managers, and all these people are getting laid off." And it's like, if you know anything about business, that's what's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Like, whenever a new CEO comes in, they're going to restructure the company because they were hired there for a reason, and that's to make the business more profitable. And when you eliminate all these positions that aren't necessary, that automatically goes to your bottom line. So, you know what I mean? For them, that was like, cha-ching, cha-ching, you know what I mean? That was big money just hitting their bottom line right off the bat. So, you know what I mean? He's coming in, changing the structure of PlayStation, and a lot of people might not like it because we all have gotten comfortable over the past couple of generations of what we expect from PlayStation. But I think, he's going to be taken in the right direction.
Yeah. And to your point, B, we had Chrono on, who works for Sony PlayStation, and he gave us that kind of unique perspective that Sony itself, like PlayStation, was kind of shifting from being a Japanese base conglomerate, if you will, to operating more like a global conglomerate, the PlayStation division at least, right? And with that comes change, to kind of shift from being more, I guess, Japan-centric per se, and now being more globally centric in your strategy and how you're structured. And that's what's happening right now at PlayStation.
Right.
Yeah. And, for everything that Jim Ryan and Herman Hulse had to say the other day was really just to quell the anxiety that a lot of PlayStation fans fear.
Exactly, yeah.
And I see it here in some of the chat as well, and some of it is truth. PlayStation can't compete with Microsoft or Xbox. It can't, and they're not. You can't compare it. They can't pull a Game Pass move, because Game Pass means we need to burn billions of dollars for years to make and hopefully make a dent so that people come and they subscribe long term to us. They don't have the infrastructure or the money to do any of that. And so they really do have to do something that is maybe Game Pass light, or they need to kind of restructure things and relook at their models, like B Money said. And that's why you saw, Jim Ryan say, hey, listen, we have something. It's cooking. It's in the oven. We'll talk about it soon. That's why you have Herman Hulse saying, hey, listen, we're partnering with all these smaller teams to make big AAA games. Part of it's all bullshit for sure. Like when Jim Ryan's like, we're going to have more AAA games than we ever had before. Well, I fucking hope so. That's like always the thing that you want someone to say. But at the same exact time, PlayStation isn't at the moment in a rush, because no matter what you think about, Naughty Dog or Sucker Punch or any of the PlayStation studios, you can't argue with facts and numbers. And the fact is that PlayStation last year published Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, you had Miles Morales, and they're all ranked in the top 10 games that sold last year. And that's on a single platform. Miles Morales right now is tracking so incredibly well, being the third most sold game this year on 2 platforms. And the majority of that is coming from one, which is the PS5. So their games are selling really, really well. but they do need to start not changing course, but looking at what Xbox is doing with Game Pass and making something that is not so much a competitor, but competent, standing side by side. We know PlayStation can make a really great service. We see PlayStation now. It's a really great service overall. When we always talk about what the free game of the month is, and we compare it to, what is it, Games of Gold, it's embarrassing for Games of Gold. It's typically not that great. So, we know that PlayStation can make a good service. And let's hope they do. Let's hope we see something from them. But a lot of this yesterday, I really do think it was them saying, guys, we're talking, there's things in the oven right now. Trust me, we got some stuff.
Yeah.
And we can take that belief because, that is very much a narrative that we see almost every year. Like, wait for E3, wait for Phil Spencer to say the thing. Isn't he handsome on stage? And, ultimately, last generation didn't pan out that great. But it's a narrative that I think some PlayStation fans or most PlayStation fans can trust because for the past 6-7 years, PlayStation has been producing the games that you want to, or the casual market wants to play the most of, it seems, and people are gravitating towards. It's why PlayStation 5 with no games is the fastest selling console ever.
In U.S. history, it's the fastest selling console.
I also think part of their strategy and the reason why they aren't going super heavy with PlayStation now is because they have PlayStation Plus. So like where we get the new games at and is going to be on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
And because that's going to cost them less money to get the game free for 30 days or 45 days or however long they have it up there. And they've been giving us new games ever since the generation started. We've got a new game every month for PlayStation Plus, regardless whether you like the game or not. It's been a new game there every month. So
regardless if you like Outriders or not, that's a new game for Game Pass. That's a huge deal.
Right.
Yes.
So we don't know what next month is going to hold, or these upcoming months. But I think like Jim was saying, with some of their partnerships and things that they're doing behind the scenes, you never know what could happen. I think with them, kind of, getting close to Capcom and getting close to 2K and some of these other big publishers, you never know. Private Division is out there. Whatever the next big Private Division game is, that could be a free PlayStation Plus game. Whatever the next big indie game, like Rocket League, like
even take a look at
games.
Like something like Destruction All-Stars. Right. Game was supposed to launch at $70. The PlayStation saw nobody was pre-ordering that game. And so they delayed it to February. They gave it to everybody for free. And they saw people still ain't playing the game. And they're like, well, when it comes out on April, it's only $20. Like,
that's an L that they had to swallow. You know what I mean? Because they actually published that game. Yeah. So it's like, they saw that there wasn't much interest there. They gave it away, and now you move on to the next one.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think when I saw someone in the chat say something really, really smart, which was, I see why can't they make a service that drops some smaller games in there? Shuhei works a lot with indies now, so why can't Shu make an indie pass? That would be really fucking cool to see. Every month you get something new, something unique, and that is more that speaks to the PlayStation brand. And I think that'd be a neat move. That's what I kind of am hoping to see. I'm hoping to see whatever this service is like a Disney Plus, where I get some stuff every month that's unique to the brand. And when it comes to a Black Widow moment, like when Ghost of Tsushima comes out, hopefully I get a discount off of that game because I am a PlayStation Game Pass member. Like that's what I'm thinking this service is going to be. But yeah,
the other thing too,
I almost the shit out of Xbox Live Arcade. Arcade was great.
Yeah, Arcade was awesome. The other thing I was going to say,
James, that was good times, man.
The other thing I was going to say too is, they also made that announcement of partnering with Firewalk Studios on a new multiplayer game, and Firewalk, as I understand, are some ex Bungie people, and it's going to be a new IP for PlayStation Studios. So this, like to B-Money's point about kind of that narrative of they're only going to be focusing on The Last of Us and that and their established franchises. We see that's not the case, right? We see that that's not necessarily the case at all. That in fact they're actually partnering with studios, and I'm willing to bet that behind the scenes there's probably a ton more that's going on with regards to PlayStation and supporting the PlayStation 5 console, which we just don't know about. Like B said,
we've already know that they announced big partnerships, like Final Fantasy 16 exclusive.
Yeah,
that's a big announcement.
That's a big one.
You know what I mean? Like having Forspoken, Project Actia. You know what I mean? They're using a whole new engine on that game. That's a big announcement. So it's not like they haven't been announcing like big games coming. You know what I mean? So it's I just don't understand why everybody's like, oh, the house is on fire. Everybody get out.
Jim Ryan's not the guy.
Yeah, like what the hell are y'all talking about?
Listen, I sit here from my computer chair, and I went to college and I took Business 101, and I can tell you, sir, that Jim Ryan is a big fat phony fraud. That's the people that are saying that, right? People that have like no fucking background. They're just like, give me new games. Like, no shit, we want to give you new games. That's not an educated thought at all, So like, to me, you have to, you have to take those comments with a bit of a grain of salt because it is the internet, and some people are just wanting to be dicks. I'm tired of that.
That's true.
Yeah, stop capping for companies who don't give a shit if you lived or died. They're corporations. Look, remember the what is it? The glasses for Microsoft?
Yeah, HoloLens.
HoloLens, right? Like everybody's like, oh, Microsoft is so fucking good. Like they literally just sold that technology to the military so they could drone people from the skies. And a lot of the workers that made HoloLens are like petitioning Microsoft to say, hey, please don't fucking do that. We don't want our technology to literally kill people. We just wanted to show you a Pikachu that sits in your living room. Like that's it. So like, again, these are big giant conglomerates that don't need you to defend them. We just like to talk about games. And I feel like sometimes there's some people in this chat that forget about that.
That's a good point. I want to get this. I'm going to go back to B Money, but I'm going to get the super chat real quick from our good buddy Rodimus with the $5 super chat. It says, I wonder how many PlayStation gamers took advantage of Oddworld being in PlayStation Plus because I don't see anyone playing that game.
I did, but it was a weird game to even charge $50 for. I'll be real with you.
Yeah,
I mean, very beautiful cinematics, but man, that's fucking expensive.
I didn't think it was a $50 game.
Yeah,
it's a decent. I would say it's like if I had to give it a score off the top of my head, I played it a little bit, and I've played other Oddworld games. For a platformer, and obviously, I kind of have a soft spot for the Oddworld franchise because I played it for over 20 years now. I would say it's probably probably like a 7 out of 10. It's a good platforming game, but it's not like the best platforming game I played, in a while. It's good.
Like, so Enrique, since you have some lineage with the game, like when you played the other games, were they lower priced than normal games?
No, they were the same price.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were like $50 when they released, 60. Yeah, this it's cheaper now. Like this version's cheaper, but I can kind of see how it might not be a $50 game, because it seems more of like the line of a like indie type game, I guess. But maybe even,
I mean, like the production and the cinematics are crazy.
Yeah, I would say production probably close to AAA. Yeah, you know what? I take that back. I think 50 is probably maybe not okay then. Given the,
I think we look at so many games today because there are so many games that have high level production.
Yeah,
and it's like, those games are worth full price.
Yeah,
and then we look at other games and it's like, that's game shouldn't be $60, or that game should be $50 or $40. It should be $25. It should be closer to an indie title, and it's like, what do you want?
Yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, Outriders, the way it performed, that shouldn't have been a full price game. Should have been $40. But at the end of the day, it's a full price game. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
If we keep like putting our nose up, like, oh, this game shouldn't be prices, whatever the case may be. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We won't get the game somewhere at all.
So
yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier of like Game Pass does eliminate. We just talk about the game and not how much it costs for sure.
Yeah, I want to bring something up. Rodimus mentioned he's like, I think he's talking about the new Oddworld game. He's like, PlayStation fans are not taking advantage of these free games. Sony won't have any need to grow out that service. Look, they're going to grow out the service because they'll put games in there that people are going to play. I think, and they're going to. It's about options. Like Oddworld may not resonate with the masses, but it may resonate with a few people, and give Oddworld, the breadth to not get lost in the shuffle of other big game releases. Something that, what's his face, Todd Howard talked about at the roundtable, that with this acquisition of Bethesda, they can focus on making creative content that they probably wouldn't have made. Mm-hmm. That a lot of people wouldn't be interested in because they get lost in the shuffle of all these other big titles. So, I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think, they're going to put these games, both Microsoft and Sony, I think they'll put these games in services because, whether they resonate with, 1 million people or 500,000 people, the fact is they resonate and they'll keep those people coming back,
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Because, gaming, in my opinion, at least, is so unique in the sense that, we all have a variety of different tastes, right? Like, Forte, he loves Roblox, right? I'm not a Roblox guy.
I'm out of here. Actually, I am out of here.
You are.
You are. Okay.
Yeah, I am. No, I'm out of here after you said that, but I'm really out of here now. Because you said that. But no, I agree. But Roblox is my kid, so. Don't put that.
Okay, well, Destiny, Forte. I'll throw Destiny out there. You like Destiny, and I'm not a big Destiny fan, but that doesn't, but that's what I'm saying. Like, gaming has so many different flavors that appeal to so many different people, man. So Forte, you really got to go, man.
Yeah,
you gotta go. Okay. Season gaming.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yep, that's right. Okay. All right.
Take care. Be easy on Kyle. All right, be easy on my co-host.
Listen, man, they already telling him that he's the best host of the trophy room. So
that's what I
hear. Wow.
That's what they over there saying. That's what they over there saying. So you need to come over to the chat and defend your honor.
Tell Ains he's bald and that Red Dead 2 isn't that great.
Wow.
Well, I'm also gonna have this conversation about Mass Effect over there too, because I heard this is I heard somebody thought that Mass Effect.
He thinks Mass Effect 1 is better.
He thinks Mass Effect 1's the best. The GOAT.
Yeah, all right, I'll talk to y'all later. Gaming Forte everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, DPS podcast every Thursday. Check it out on Slow-Mo/channel this week. Last week on my channel, we hit 1,000 subs with 91 concurrent viewers. Shout out to all of you guys that showed up to the show. Congratulations, E. Happy belated to you. I said EB. Happy belated to you, B, and you should have been there for BRAP because E almost killed our boy. We almost had a new host. We almost had a new host. I heard. I'll just say we almost had a new host. But you guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys later.
All right, Forte. Man. Always a pleasure, man. All right, I forgot where I was. Yeah, so that was my point. That gaming, we all have unique tastes and stuff like that. So I think I think Sony will still pull those games, and there could be some games that they may not, they may throw in there that don't do well. They'll say, you know what, we're not going to put that type of game in, or we're not going to greenlight a sequel or have a sequel of that game in. We'll see. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. We talked about this on Crossfire. Like, what are the performance metrics for games that go into Game Pass, right? Like, is it a user engagement? What does that look like if they're not looking at sales per se? So,
yeah, it's definitely user engagement. How many people chose to play that game, and how long they're playing it. That's definitely the metric.
Gotcha. Yeah. B, you were gonna chime in, man?
Oh no, I'm good, man.
Oh, okay, I thought you were okay. So look, I think the moral of the story here is everybody just calm down. It's funny because when we see, it's like, when I saw this, because I mean they really did drip a lot of news yesterday. With the studios, the new studio they're partnering with for the multiplayer. Let me ask you guys something. Do you think that the game that they're partnering with, and I forget, Firewalk Studios? Yeah. Do you think this is going to be a game that goes on both PlayStation and PC?
I think it needs to. Their games are getting way too expensive, so yeah, I think they definitely need to. I think this may even be a PS4 game. Who knows? It depends on how long this game's been out, or when this game plans on coming out. Really.
Yeah, it's a great point. What do you think, B? You think it's going to be both PlayStation 5 and PC?
I think it's going to be on everything they can put it on.
I agree.
And I told y'all that this would happen when this Jim Ryan got hired. The multiplayer games for PlayStation were on the way.
Yeah.
And look at what's happening. Look at what they did with Guerrilla. They went to go get the Rainbow Six, some of the Rainbow Six devs. They're working on a shooter over there, and it's not Killzone. You know what I mean? Like
SOCOM.
I'm not gonna get my hopes up, man. They teased SOCOM the other day, man. I almost lost my shit. I ain't gonna lie.
Did you saw that PlayStation Australia?
Yeah.
Who played SOCOM?
PlayStation Australia is such a troll account. I love them.
Yeah, man. I almost lost my shit, but you know what I mean. I think, you know what I mean. They talked a lot about engagement, and it's like, yeah, you can sell 10 million copies of The Last of Us and 20 million copies of Spider-Man, but once you're done, you're kind of done. So, you know what I mean? Like to keep that engagement going and to be able to be profitable, you need multiplayer games. And whether those are free-to-play games or games that are 60 or 70 bucks or 40 bucks or whatever, you know, they want to price them at. To keep people engaged, it has to be something that's ever evolving. And you can't really do that with many single-player games. So I think this is the avenue that we're going to kind of go down, at least a little bit for PlayStation. And I think this is something that they need to do, because you can't continue to, even if they had a Game Pass or a PlayStation Now, or however they're going to revamp it, and all they put in there was God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, the Ratchet and Clanks. People would just subscribe for the month that it came out, play the game, and get out of there. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for you to stay if there's games that aren't going to keep you engaged into the service. Like, people love, you know what I mean, multiplayer games. And if you can put those into a service, that's the reason why they'll stay there. If you can only have single player games, there's no reason for you to be there every day.
That's a great point, B. You know, B, and I think you're right, man. Like if you think about the landscape of multiplayer games today versus, you know, how it used to be, like when SOCOM was out, like it doesn't make sense from a from the perspective of, you know, if you're only going to have a multiplayer game on one platform, it doesn't make sense. You're not going to reach a broad audience where you have games like Fortnite, you know, Warzone. Those are free to play games on multiple devices now, right? Right. It almost makes sense to have maybe a free to play and have it on PC, PlayStation 5, and I wouldn't be surprised if this thing goes mobile.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they go, or you know, some sort of mobile version of the game to kind of just expand the world. But you know what I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's on PlayStation 4. You know what I mean? Just because, you know, they have said that they're gonna, you know, continue to support that platform. And it's a multiplayer game, so why not put it on as many platforms as you possibly can? You know what I mean? PlayStation 4s continue to grow as well. You know what I mean? If they can't get PlayStation 5s out there, you know what I mean, at a large rate, then, you know what I mean, you got to support the platform where there's already gamers at. So
that's a great point, B. Yeah,
plus,
and I think,
know what I mean, they have that partnership with Epic. So if it became like an Epic Store exclusive, you know what I mean, for a time period that, you know, that could help, you know, both of them, you know what I mean, benefit from that partnership. So
yeah, that's a great point, B. Well, gentlemen, I want to go ahead and wrap up the show. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you for hanging. Very spicy conversation in the live chat, by the way. I've been watching it. Some interesting comments. I'll leave it at that. But no, I sincerely appreciate everyone coming out, hanging out with us in the live chat. Please, look, we had like 150 people watching. Please smash that like button if you haven't done so already. If you're new, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Couple programming announcements. This coming Wednesday, we'll have a regularly scheduled BRAP podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have returning guest, Shinobi, from, if you know Shinobi from the Twitters. He's also, forget his title, but he works for a studio, Wushu Studios, that's headquartered in the UK. They're actually working on a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but Shinobi is going to be on with us this Wednesday. It's going to be a great show. You definitely want to miss that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did some work on Destruction All Stars too.
Yes.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. So we're going to have Shinobi on. And that's this coming Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And want to give a big shout out to Hogue Law, who joined us earlier, the first hour of the podcast. Always a pleasure having Hogue on. Please check out his channel, Hogue Law, our virtual legality on YouTube. And also want to give a big shout out to our BRAP panel member, Gaming Forte, who had to leave to go over to Season Gaming, which I think starts right now. So definitely go check out those guys as they go live now. But also want to give a big thank you to Mr. Badbit, who truly his Latino self came out
I know,
in the
man.
live chat. You let him have it today, Mr. Badbit. And that's rare for you, sir. That's very rare for you.
I usually don't look. I usually say I ignore them, but then sometimes some dum-dums just come out of the woodwork and they're like, "Dog, I got a real dumb thought in my head. It's real disrespectful to others." And I gotta slap those people down. You know where to find me. At Mr. Badbit on Twitter. You want to see some less spicier takes, you go over to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation show over on YouTube. This week we got 2 different shows out. It's spectacular. It's really good. Some of the best content that we've made. And yeah, you can find us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you find your podcast services. You can find the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast there. Also follow us at PS Trophy Room. We're about to hit on that Twitter 1,200 followers. So
nice,
if we could
man.
do that, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely, man. Well, Mr. Babbitt, it's always a pleasure having you on, man.
Of course.
Yeah, we got to get your best friend Kyle on BRAP too.
He's not ready.
He's not ready. Oh, too funny, man. Yes, please, everyone, definitely go check out the Trophy Room podcast. It's a great show, great content. Yeah, and one of the best damn intros in the business, by the way. Yeah, which I had to leave that in, and I don't know if you saw my message in one of your videos.
Oh yeah, I think I gave it a little thumbs up. I'm like, God damn, you're right, it is.
So, and then we got my man
Nero
B.
Pinero. Shout out to him, man. He's fantastic.
Oh, he did that for you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta hit my man up, man. I gotta hit the Nero up. Yeah. And then also, last but not least, my man B Money 101. I'm not gonna do you like I did Eric this Wednesday, which was a mistake. I forgot it was by accident. We got mad love for Eric Jackson, but B Money 101, man, be always a pleasure. Hey man, thanks for jumping on, man. Great to see you in the live chat. That's like I gotta get you in here for that PlayStation topic, because you have been like if you guys go back and listen to some of the stuff that B said in old BRAP shows, he's been pretty spot on with a lot of the things that he said is going to happen or probably happening. So, be always a pleasure, man. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere. Same name, B Money 101. I will actually be on 2K later on today. So, if you're on, just hit me up. And I actually got to get on there and join the MLB franchise with you guys, because I totally forgot about doing that yesterday. So, reminded me. Join the league, man. It's we have 6 teams right now. Well, we have slated for 6, but I think there's 4 of us right now, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So Mr. Babbitt, I don't know if you're into baseball, but if you're looking to join a league, let me know, man. We'll get an invite out to you as well.
I am not. I do. I used to, honestly, I used to be good at baseball. I forget what happened, and that's why I hate who even cares about the show on Xbox, because I don't even play baseball anymore.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, fair enough. So
I can't let the past die.
No worries. But definitely give B Money a follow. And if you want to give BRAP a follow on the Twitters, it's BRAP_podcast. And again, we'll be back on Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time with Shinobi. Everyone, have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy your time playing video games. It's not that serious. It's supposed to be fun. Enjoy it. It's great. It's good for the mind. We're out of here now. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Head over to Season Gaming because they are live right now. Check out Gaming Forte, and Kyle from the Trophy Room podcast is on there as well. Yeah. So on that note, we're out.
Catch 2 coming back.
All right, we're out. Take care, everyone. Peace.